So I was supposed to make this video a few weeks back after I finished my very first paid portrait shoot, which is a pretty big deal for me. I'd literally just announced to almost everybody I know that I'm giving full-time portrait photography a go. And there I was, having just completed my very first paid portrait shoot. So I thought, great, let's sit down, reflect on some things I've learned, some things I've realized, and make another YouTube video. But before I could sit down and do that, I booked a second job. Great, I thought, I'll just make this video after I finish the second job. 2 jobs worth of learnings are probably going to be better than one, so no big deal. But then before I could deliver that second job and actually sit down and make this video, I booked a third, and then a fourth, and now a fifth. So I'm starting to come to the realization that there's never a good time where I've got nothing on my plate and I can just sit down and make one of these silly little YouTube videos. Now, with only 3 paid portrait shoots under my belt, I'm hardly an expert, and there's not a lot I can teach anyone about how to be a portrait photographer. But there's a couple of things that I've learned that would have been nice to know before I began this journey. So I guess this video is really for me from a couple of months back. So Tristan from the past, if you're watching this, take notes. Okay, first realization. Getting paid to do something that you'd happily do for free is an incredible feeling. Probably no surprise to anyone, but in case you were wondering what it's like to turn a long-time hobby into a profession and essentially get paid to do something that you love doing, it feels great. It's kind of like, and bear with me, it's kind of like if you were going to get paid to eat ice cream. So you sit down in front of your tub of Ben & Jerry's that you're going to eat anyway, regardless. But if someone was to pay you money to eat that tub of Ben & Jerry's, how much better would it taste? That's kind of what it's like to take photos for money. Everything is going to take longer than you expect. I know I'm typically quite an impatient person. When I decide I want to do something, when I decide I want something done, I want it done as fast as possible, with as few delays as possible. This is just the type of person I am, the type of person I've always been. So it's taken a bit of an adjustment period to get used to just how long things are going to take. People are people, and people, sometimes they'll take longer to get back to you than you expect. Sometimes they'll take longer to pick their preferred image. Sometimes they'll take longer to, say, book the haircut before they book your portrait session than you expect. And that's okay. It'll happen in time. You just need to be patient. This leads me to my next point. You're going to need lots and lots of leads. No pun intended. Before I started this portrait photography business, I had no idea how important it was to have lots and lots of leads. I don't have a sales background. I'm not a salesy guy, but you never know how long it takes or how long it's going to take from someone to first reach out to you that they're interested in a portrait to finally delivering the final paid portrait. In the case of my very first job, it took 4 months from when we were first chatting to when I finally shot and delivered the final portraits. So, could take months, could take hours to book a portrait shoot. So it's important to have lots and lots of leads and always be reaching out to people and always putting yourself out there in new ways, because you never know how long it's going to take from someone to go from a lead to a client. Some people just won't value your work, but other people will. You're going to run into people who won't value your work as much as you, and they will not want to pay your rate. You'll have people that will straight up lowball you. You'll have others that will try to negotiate some kind of package deal in order to give themselves a really handsome discount. You'll even have some people who will tell you that they thought you'd be cheaper because you were just starting out at photography. And this is fine. This is 100% okay and normal. This is just what happens when you put your work out there. And as much as it stings to be told these sorts of things, and as much as it stings not to be booked, that's fine, because for every one of these people that you meet, you're going to meet loads more people who do actually value your work and do want to collaborate with you and are prepared to pay your rate. And it's such a better use of your time to try to seek out and find these people and get your work in front of people who might actually appreciate and value what you do than try to convince someone that your work is actually valuable who doesn't think that it is, if that makes any sense. Because great clients are 100% out there, and they are 1000% more fun to talk to and work with. Okay, this next one's a pretty interesting realization for me, and it's that people care more about looking good in a photo than being in a good photo. So what I mean by that is for the sort of personal branding work that I've been doing, my clients care more that they look good than that the overall photo is good, which is of course is my number one concern. So like regular people don't really give a shit about things like color theory and lighting ratios and highlight fall off and depth of field and bokeh and all the things us photographers like drool over. Normal people don't care. All they care about is that they look good. And there's a little bit of a clash of objectives, of goals, I guess, between a portrait photographer and someone in the picture. Because while one picture may look better overall for the photographer, the person may prefer another picture, which perhaps isn't as technically perfect because they look better. So it's really important as a photographer to figure out what it is that your client likes and dislikes about, perhaps ways they look, about how their hair falls and things like this. So you can really align your objectives. Because the more you can show that you really, really care that they look their absolute best, the more relaxed they'll be and the happier they'll be overall with the final product, which is of course what you want. You're probably nervous about taking the portrait, but your clients are also nervous about having their portrait taken. During the shoot, you're thinking about a lot of things. You're thinking about your lighting, you're thinking about your posture, you're thinking about how much time is left, you're thinking about have you shot enough different lighting setups. There's a lot going through your head. But equally, there's a ton going through your client's head as well. Like after all, this portrait, they're going to show to absolutely everyone. It's going to go on their LinkedIn, probably on their website, on their social media. They want to make sure that they're looking as good as they possibly can be. It's important to make your client feel like they're the most important person ever and that you're doing everything you can to make them look as good as they possibly can, which you are, of course. But it's important that they know that you are. And it also helps to build a bit of rapport, like before the shoot, maybe have a cup of coffee, maybe have a bit of a chat, just to relax everybody into the situation. Because you're going to be working together for an hour or so. It's important that you can communicate well. And once you do this, the sort of any kind of tension usually disappears and someone will go from looking quite guarded and tense to looking a lot more relaxed and confident. And ultimately, that's what you want. That's what's going to make someone look better in a portrait, and that's what's going to make the portrait better overall. Lots of people seem to have had a terrible experience with a photographer in the past. So I guess this really just highlights how important it is to communicate. After all, good communication is over communication. So it's important to communicate your ideas and process and next steps so everyone's on the same page and your client knows what to expect at every stage of the process. And also be approachable. Be the kind of person that someone can ask questions if they have them. So no one's left in the dark and everybody ends up with an amazing experience at the end of this. But just knowing that most of the people that you meet have probably had a poor experience with a photographer in the past can sort of shed a bit of light on some maybe weird questions or strange behaviors that you run into. Bit of a self-realization, but I think I spend too long retouching. Now, I don't think my images look overly retouched, well, at least I hope they don't, but as I've started to book paid work, I've become very, very conscious of wanting to deliver the best possible product. And this is kind of manifested in me spending a lot of extra time retouching. Now, while I'm very, very happy with how these paid portrait shoots are turning out, I'm very conscious that I'm spending a lot longer than I probably should doing the retouching, especially how much I'm charging for these images. So I guess I need to either figure out how to retouch faster or figure out some new methods to retouch in a quicker, more effective way, or just be happier with less retouched images, I guess. I don't really know what to do with this information. I thought it would just be something I'm working on. And finally, I need to figure out a better way for clients to select their favorite images. Right now, I'm uploading low-resolution portraits into a shared Google Drive folder, and then the clients are looking through them and then letting me know the file name of their picked image. And then once I've got that file name, I'll then go into Lightroom, find the file name, and mark that image. And then I'll send it to Photoshop and retouch it, etc., etc., etc. But this is there's a lot of steps in this process. It's very time-intensive, and it's also extremely error-prone on my end and the client's end. So I need a better way. And And I really need a better way because on the very first job, I actually marked the wrong image in Lightroom, which nearly screwed me. Luckily, the client caught it and they actually brought to my attention that I'd marked one of the wrong images, so I didn't spend several hours retouching the wrong photo, but it could have been an even more embarrassing situation. So I don't have a solution yet, but it's something that I'm very aware of and I'm looking into. And that's it. That's some of the things I've learned so far on my journey as a professional portrait photographer after my first 3 paid shoots. Funny story about being a professional portrait photographer. I still quite haven't wrapped my head around the idea that this is what I do now. So much so that after my very first paid portrait shoot, one of the guys I was photographing actually mentioned that he's never had a professional portrait taken before. And I had to stop myself from saying something like, oh, well, there's still time, because he was talking about me and he was talking about the portrait we just shot. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm a professional now. And I don't know how to end this video.